Hi everybody, what I'm going to talk about today is the constriction and the dilation of pupils, how to understand what you are seeing in regards to the pupil behaviour of other individuals, and hopefully understand a little more so of your own pupils and how they work. I will be using numerous examples from a body language context also, so if you want to learn how to read people and add this to your arsenal of cluster reading and generalised understanding of the human being, then please listen in. Regarding pupil dilation and constriction, for the most part it tends to be outside of our conscious awareness and control, meaning for the most part it is one of the most honest parts of body language we have at hand. In an environmental standpoint, the eyes will dilate given it needs to take in more light, and if it needs to take in more light, we can assume we are in a dim lit environment. The pupils will expand to ensure you can see more clear and our vision is enhanced. On the contrary, if we are in a bright lit environment with plenty of natural light, such as outside on a sunny day, our pupils will constrict as we already have a surplus of light and we can see completely fine. There is no need to allow more light. Okay? If you were to find the parallel between the environmental factor and the brain's wacky way of applying that to our body language programming and hardwiring, what you will find is that given the dilation of the pupil refers to a allowing in of more vision and more visual stimuli, the dilation of the pupil can be represented as wanting to see more as to what it sees before it, or even the thoughts within that individual's mind. So if they were to think of something relatively positive that they wanted to see more of, then their pupils may dilate in response to that. And especially if they enjoy what they see before them, their pupils may dilate. Okay? That even goes in regards to enjoying what they hear, given that there is a spark of arousal within the mind, okay? Now, if you wanted to find the parallel between the environmental constriction of the pupils and refer that to body language, the constriction of the pupil essentially shuts off more light being brought in. So if you were to compare and contrast that to an individual not wanting to see more and not wanting to allow more in, you could essentially say that an individual who responds to yourself with a fluctuation of the natural pupil behaviour. So let's say, for example, they were at a midway standard point, but after seeing you, their pupils then fluctuate and constrict beyond the necessity, given the environmental context. That is more than likely going to be negative, purely as they don't want to allow you in. They don't want to see more of you. In fact, they want to see less, more than likely. Constriction of the pupil on a body language basis represents a state of fear, a state of disgust, and, as mentioned, a form of eye-blocking behaviour, which is the brain's way of not allowing any further visual stimuli in. This also reflects, such as the dilation, on the state of mind the individual in and the train of thought the individual is currently processing. So if in their mind they are reminiscing back to a time they may not necessarily agree with, then their eyes may constrict in response to that as an attempt to shut that off. Pupil dilation, on the other hand, as seen to spark paternal and maternal instincts within humans from the eyes of babies and the big googly eyes of children's products, represent a very attractive trait which can promote sexual arousal. It can promote the start of friendships, the continuation of friendships. It can also be represented of shock and awe and surprise, and all of these are down to the eyes and the brain wanting to see more and let more light in. Now you have to understand that the pupils may already be dilated, but it's about the fluctuation of the pupil you must pay most attention to, as given an individual is going on a date with you in a dim lit room, their eyes are going to be dilated already, which is very good because that naturally promotes a degree of rapport between you both, allowing you to both feel comfort within each other, given that we subconsciously believe we're not threats to each other. Why would they be a threat if they're approaching me with such a positive non-verbal communication, as opposed to a constriction and a shutting out? We may not consciously understand why we think this way, but our primitive motors within the depths of our mind certainly do. Dilation of the pupils in regards to the surprise and the shock all come down to the allowing of more stimuli, so the person enjoys what they see. To recap, the brain is aroused, and being aroused tends to relate to a sexual arousal, a state of excitement, or a emotional spark which has dilated rather so than constricted the eyes. Examples as to how we prefer dilated pupils are in model images on the fronts of magazines and advertisements. Given that the eyes are dilated, there is a parallel to the amount of copies and products sold, given we are luring people in rather so than pushing people out. To finalise, the constriction of the pupil tends to relate to primarily negative thought patterns within a human being, and also primarily correlates with the environment the individual is within. So if a person is within a hallway full of lights, the pupil will constrict to ensure that no further light is allowed in, purely as that may cause some degree of damage to the eye and the person can see clearly regardless. The dilation of the eye is to allow more stimuli in, so when you look at somebody who is looking at you with dilated pupils, or if you state something which dilates the pupil of another individual, what you have done is sparked a state of excitement and arousal within their brain, as to which has allowed their pupil to expand to allow more of that information in. So it's a very positive trait, and that also on an environmental factor, which is the primary basis of the pupil dilation and constriction, means they are within an environment as to where they need to let in more light so they can see more clearer. Okay, I hope you learnt a little something from that. I am going to be uploading more videos in due time. If you find this interesting, please feel free to give it a like and give my page a subscribe. Or if you feel somebody else would find that interesting, or you find this behaviour or are conversing regarding this behaviour with another individual, feel free to send it on. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye.